Hey guys, Crystal here, and this time I'm going to be doing my top 10 episodes of Steven Universe Season 1. Because as you've noticed, usually when we finish a season, we do a top 5, or in this case, a top 10, which is because Season 1 is double the size of a regular season. So without further ado, I'm gonna get started. So my number 10 slot, I decided to go for Cheeseburger Backpack. It was one of the first episodes I ever saw, and not just because it's episode 3. I did watch things a little out of order when I first got into the show. And Cheeseburger Backpack was still one of the first ones I saw, and it actually really interested me. Granted, I hadn't seen much of the show, so I didn't know much about how good it could get, but I quite enjoyed it, and I liked the message that not every idea works out great. So for that reason, I chose it for my number 10. Moving on to number 9, I've chosen Bubble Buddies. Connie is a very important character, and this episode was her introduction, so I think it's a very important episode, and I really liked it. It's good to have someone like Connie to react to all the crazy stuff that happens in Steven's life. He's always saying it's okay because he's used to all that kind of stuff, but Connie's not used to it, so we get to see her react to things, and she's there to kind of show Steven that, hey, some things in his life are really odd. And, it's the start of a really great friendship. So, I think that was a really good episode. Speaking of Steven and Connie's relationship, for my number 8 slot, I chose Alone Together. It is when they first fuse, which is, like I said, a very important step in their relationship. As Pearl says in Season 2 in We Need to Talk, fusion is the ultimate connection between gems. Fusion is really special because it combines you into one being. Like Garnet says, you're not two people, but you're not quite one person either. They're still getting the hang of it, and we see that Stevonnie sort of talks to himself a little in this episode. For example, when they say, you're supposed to like this, why don't you like this? And yeah, it really shows Steven and Connie getting to know each other and also trusting each other, because when Garnet teaches Greg about fusion in We Need to Talk, she says that you need a person you completely trust with that light, with your body, basically. And so it really shows the trust between Steven and Connie, because they trust each other that much. It just happened. They didn't plan it, but it was a special moment. And I think the episode handled it really well. Moving on to number 7, I chose On the Run. I always loved Amethyst, and this episode made me love her even more. We finally get to learn more about where she came from. And she gets a chance to work off some feelings she has, because she always blames herself for the destruction that was caused by her creation, even though it wasn't really her fault. And she feels like everyone blames her for being made. And in the end, they have this resolution, and Pearl talks to her and says, You're not a mistake. I don't blame you. You didn't build this place. And it's a really touching scene, and I consider it a really important episode of the season. Now, in number 6, I have chosen a much less serious episode, Onion Trade. Of course, this list has been influenced by my co-host, Shadowstar, and, watching this series along with him has helped me notice some episodes that I originally didn't care for, which are actually better than I first thought, and this is one of them, definitely. Onion is a great character just because he just does the most random stuff, and it's funny, and that's why Onion Trade is such a great episode. Everything about it is great. Like, there are many flaws, like why didn't he just replicate Ranger Guy instead of making a billion Dave guys to trade for it? But Pearl actually points that out in the episode, so it's not completely a flaw. It's just Steven's dumb, he didn't think of that. And there are just so many funny moments and one-liners to list, it would take too long. So that's why Onion Trade is so great. But speaking of episodes that Shadowstar likes, the next one in my number 5 slot is also one that he showed me is good, Laser Light Cannon. It's our introduction to Greg, and it is a really good episode. I actually would have liked it if it had been the actual first episode of the show. It would have made a great introduction. It was pretty good. We get introduced to so many things, like we get Greg and we get told a few things about Rose, and it's just sort of our introduction to these characters and their background, and it has its funny moments too. It's just an all-around great episode. Moving on to my number 4 slot, I put The Return. It is the second last episode of the season, and really, a second last episode, its job really is just to set up a finale, and it does that job great. You know, they see the ship and, you know, they're scared, rightfully so. Even the gems are scared, and it is enough to tell them, evacuate the city. And we see that they want to protect Steven, so they tell him to evacuate too. But in the end, he goes back to them, and he gets this amazing moment where he says, "I'm a crystal gem too." And he just stands up for himself and for his friends, and he just wants to protect them, and it's amazing. So that's why I think it is a great it's a great second last episode. It does its job well. Moving on, number 3, I chose Mirror Gem. It really is the episode where things get serious, because you know, we didn't have a lot of major plot so far, and the episode started off funny, but then in the end of the episode, that just it really is the moment where everything changes, because we meet another gem. Steven's never seen another gem, and we don't know what to expect from this other gem, because she tells us don't trust them, and it casts some doubt on our main cast, really. You know, it makes us wonder, are the crystal gems all that great? And they are rebels. So it makes us realize we really don't know much about our heroes. And yeah, Mirror Gem is just a really important episode of season 1. And for my number 2 slot, I put Ocean Gem, which comes right after Mirror Gem. In fact, in some languages, those 2 episodes are named Lapis Lazuli Part 1 and Lapis Lazuli Part 2, because they really just are about Lapis Lazuli, and they really do follow on from each other, so you could consider it a 2-parter. Ocean Gem is even better than Mirror Gem. It is intense. It has this somber moment. I don't know if somber is the right word. It has this nice moment where Pearl finally explains to Steven that all the monsters that we've been fighting, all these one-off monsters, they were originally gems, and we don't quite know a lot about what happened yet, but we know that something happened to make them into monsters. So we have to contain them, and yeah, we're always fighting gems. And, this is a really important episode. Steven, as we like to joke, his real power is talking things out. And in the end, he does try to talk to Lapis. At first, she doesn't want to talk, which is good because we get an amazing fight scene. It's so good to see all of our main characters getting together. We bring Connie along and we have some nice moments there. And Greg comes too. And even though it is just a one-line joke where he says, "Is this how missions normally go? Because I don't know how comfortable I am." It does, it is a good line because, this really is where the show gets serious. This is the middle of the season after all, and it reminds me of Full Disclosure where he really starts freaking out about how serious things get. But, like Shadowstar says in the review, the fight scene is great. It's always good to see a character fighting a sort of clone of themselves, and that's what we got. And it was good. They put up a good fight. They tried, but if it weren't for Steven with his shield, they probably wouldn't have done so well. But in the end, Lapis listens to reason and she says she was only stealing the ocean because she just wants to get home. And, Steven does the nice thing and heals her gem, so Lapis isn't evil. Even though she seems like she's the villain of the episode, she's really just misunderstood. And, that's why we're now going to talk about the real villain of the season, because you probably guessed it from, if you've seen the reviews, you might remember the episode I gave a 10 out of 10 to, Jailbreak, which really just shows the real villain of season 1 is Jasper. Jailbreak, man, is intense. First of all, it has the big reveal. We get to meet Ruby and Sapphire, and we find out that Ruby and Sapphire were Garnet all along. Garnet is a fusion, and, if you're watching the episode for the first time, it really is a big reveal, as you would have heard if you watched the review. Shadowstar was taken aback by that reveal. But yeah, so we get a big reveal, an intense song, a fight scene, we get something to leave us hanging with Peridot going off somewhere, and we get Lapis and Jasper fusing, and then they're at the bottom of the ocean, so that's also leaving us hanging. It really is just such a perfect ending. I really shouldn't call it perfect, but I can't really think of any flaws with it. I know, I shouldn't call it perfect, but it really is great, and that's why it is definitely my favourite episode of season 1. It's where things get really good. I mean, I mentioned in the review that the first thing from Steven Universe that I ever saw was the song Stronger Than You. And if that was good enough to make me want to watch the whole show, then that alone just proves how intense that moment was, how amazing it is. I saw that song with no other context, and it just gave me this feeling like I need to watch this, and I'm so glad I did. This has been a great journey, and well, we are pretty much halfway through season 2 now in our reviews, so it won't be too long until I am making my top 5 for season 2. I already have some idea, but it will be hard because season 2 is my favourite season. Season 1 was always my least favourite season, but I've gotten some much more appreciation for it by doing these reviews, because I have to look at each episode in depth more. Some episodes I really don't care for, But this top 10 list has shown me that there really is some great episodes in season 1. Not a lot, but there is a few really great ones that stand out. But yeah, this was difficult to find 10 episodes I love. Maybe it'll be easier next time because I only have to do 5. But it'll still be hard because, like I said, I love season 2, so I probably will find it hard to choose just 5. So don't be surprised if I pull the old honourable mentions thing in the next top 5 because I love season 2. But anyway, this video is about season 1. So anyway, I have gotten a new appreciation for season 1, and Jailbreak, yeah, is amazing. And let me know what you think about my top 10. Did any of these episodes surprise you? Did I miss an episode that you think I overlooked? Let me know. If your favourite episode wasn't on this list, please tell me in the comments. Maybe it's better than I thought, or whatever. If you disagree with me, tell me why. I'd be interested to hear it. So, with that being said, that's it for this top 10. And I'll see you next time when I do my top 5 for season 2. See you then, guys. It's gonna be great.